Okay, so this is my first trip report, and this will be my most recent trip. I took mushrooms 2 consecutive days in a row. Yeah, so just moved from California to Dallas, so I was in California at the time, and I decided it would be a great idea the first night to buy mushrooms from my homie. So I ended up giving me a real good deal and ended up taking some mushrooms, right? Well, I took these mushrooms and first it started off and you just chilling out, you're just driving around for a while with this girl and stuff. It's pretty chill. Next thing I really distinctly remember is going to his friend's house. This one dude calling up my friend and being like, "My name's Stretch," and I'm all just tripped out in the fucking corner. We were drinking before all this fucking went down. So what kind of ends up happening is we're at my friend's house, who let's just say he doesn't play that shit. Don't claim shit you're not. So he starts tripping on this dude. I'm in the corner meanwhile tripping on fucking mushrooms, being like, "Oh shit, I'm surprised I'm not having a bad trip." So I'm just like there listening, and for some reason it's in my bright tripping freaking mind, it's a great idea to fucking just get pissed off to, blend in with the things around you. It's all chill, I guess. I mean, probably looked like a fucking tripping ass idiot, but just fucking chilling and kicking back, and everything's just fucking vibrating and shit and breathing. And I mean, the things I started getting out of that though were that this world, it's beautiful, but also very dangerous. No, it's just like there's crazy ex-girlfriends and there's people who will get in between that shit and threaten you. So I mean, while I'm tripping and this is going on to my friend, they're all yelling, yeah, and I'm starting to realize, man, it's a fucking dog-eat-dog world. That's pretty fucking crazy. Holy shit. And I start thinking on that, and I start thinking, you know what, I'm handling myself a little too well for this shit. So I ended up getting out of that. Also, I am being a straight up chameleon to wherever I go, pretty much. My certain friends, I totally am myself around. Then when I go around their friends, sometimes it's like, I'm not gonna look like I'm weak, So I'm gonna let my ego get in the way of everything, right? So my ego kind of came out while I was tripping, which was odd because I usually have no ego while I trip. And these were golden teachers, so I'm not too on edge about why I didn't have a bad trip, but it also started making me think like, holy shit, who are you around all the time? Like, you're around some people who may not have your best interest all the time, right? Not necessarily the people I'm with, but some of the people that I was hanging out with before. And I'm thinking, wow, there are some real people, real fucking motherfuckers who will come and take you out of this world without a second thought, which is, human life is precious. I really strongly disagree with that. So also, who am I hanging out with? Someone who can take a life? That's kind of a little, that's a little bit like much, and especially when you're tripping. The only reason I don't think I had a bad trip is because I told myself going into that trip, hey, I'm gonna learn something. I'm gonna learn something today. What I'm gonna learn is essentially how to handle myself while I'm not tripping. And I'm gonna go deep within. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I always so like angry at shit, you know? And I started to realize I get angry at the things my friends get angry at. You do become the people you hang around with. You hang around the barber shop, you're gonna get your hair cut. So the whole thing with this instance is I just ended up grabbing so much out of that trip, and that night I'm really stupid. So like what happens is I'm like, okay, I need to sleep. Like at the end of the night, I was just a little overwhelmed. It was a little bit of a hard trip, not a bad one. I ended up I don't believe in bad trips, I believe in hard ones. Just like make that all clear. If you start looking at trips as bad trips, you're obviously gonna have a bad trip. So pretty much what came out of that was, okay, I need to go to bed. I'm having a lot of anxiety. So I ended up taking a benzodiazepine so I could sleep. That knocked me out, but I don't think that's a good choice. I do think it's necessary to practice safety procedures. If you are having a gnarly fucking trip you are not ready to handle, I do think there are times where benzodiazepines are appropriate while you're tripping. It's just those are so addictive that taking them over something just being overwhelmed and it not being something completely freaking gnarly wasn't a great idea. So I ended up waking up the next morning, helping my friend out a little bit and just getting some stuff done. So my friend heads out and his roommate has another batch of golden teachers. I guess they got from the same guy. And I look at one of these mushrooms that's like a fucking weird looking, huge freaking crazy mushroom. And I'm going, oh shit, okay. These mushrooms are speaking to me. So I ended up picking up another eighth, kind of getting nickel and dime for the second eighth, you know, but it's whatever. Well, I ended up getting in a weird headspace again, like kind of just like, you know, like toxic masculinity type headspace. And I'm thinking, I need to calm down, right? So I go and lay down on the couch. This is like the beginning of my trip. I go and I lay down, I take some time, start seeing the roof, breathing stuff. I get some fresh air, you know, and I'm thinking I want to smoke some weed. So I go down to the liquor store. It's pretty close to that house, and I ended up getting some zigzags, and we ended up rolling up a joint. I ended up smoking. Trip kind of intensified from there. I started having all these thoughts come into my head like, wow, you know, I'm a spontaneous person. I make impulsive decisions, but I'm not spontaneous in the right ways. I need to be going with the flow. I need to be going to where God guides me, essentially, or the universe, whatever you think of that as. So you know, later on making the impulsive decision to move to Dallas with some friends, but I mean, everything happens for a reason. I mean, in that trip, I ended up really getting content with myself and realizing stuff even after the trip. Even today, I realized some stuff about that trip. And I think that a lot of people are essentially not comfortable with themselves, so they're gonna blend in with their friends and stuff, right? I mean, it comes to a point where psychedelics corrected that for me. I don't care who anybody is at this point anymore. This was just a few weeks ago. I mean, I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna be the motherfucker playing air guitar at a party and not giving a fuck what anyone's gonna say about me. But that came after. So I think it sped up my maturity a lot because spiritually I grew in that trip. I was closing my eyes and I was seeing faint geometry, nothing too insane, nothing like my 5-tab acid trip. And nothing like when I took a heroic dose, but it still was more of a realization period than my heroic dose, which it was essentially taking a heroic dose in 2 days. I took an eighth and then I took another eighth. The second day, I did trip harder for some reason. I mean, they say tryptamines and I don't know what class LSD directly falls under, but they say you build up tolerance really fast to that. I haven't had that issue as much as some of my friends have. I don't know if it's completely a body thing, like if you just push out that stuff faster, or if it's, I think it's more of a mentality thing. I think it's when your body's under so much stress that it just doesn't want to trip. So a lot of people don't trip the second time unless they take a higher dose. I mean, I feel like I've known people who have smoked DMT the first time, didn't feel anything, but then took another hit of DMT 2 hours later, which is supposed to be pretty much all out of your system by then, and trip really hard. I think psychedelics are, in a way, I wouldn't call them a bombshell because they're spiritual tools and they come to you when you need them. They could be a bombshell if you enter with a really bad mentality. They could be a bombshell if you're going through a lot. For me, psychedelics have been there for me when I was going through a lot and showed me what was right. In this moment, I actually ended up figuring out what was wrong in my life. The whole thing is I ended up laying down in the garage where I paid to rent out for a little bit, and I just ended up leaving early and coming to Dallas. The thing is, I'm going to go with the flow no matter what now. I'm going to go with the gut feelings I have. And that's something I learned, is to trust my gut too. I mean, these 2 consecutive days were 2 parts to one trip, essentially, for me. I had learned that something from that whole 2 trips in those 2 days, but I feel like each time it did call to me. I didn't go seeking out mushrooms that day. Like in some of my trips, I was like, oh, I know my friend has some acid tabs. I'm gonna go and get 5 tabs. Yeah, that's something that is, I've learned, is a little irresponsible. If the substance will come to you if you need it, and I don't even I think calling this substance is a little much. I look at psychedelics as a spiritual tool. You start looking at psychedelics as a negative thing. Of course, there's a stigma behind it because our government and stuff like that tries to keep us from having medicines that aren't killing us. So it turns into something sick that the government put in our heads, like, hey, you're doing mushrooms, you're a fucking drug addict, But I think it's the opposite. I think that if you're a drug addict and you're coming into a trip and you're like, oh, I'm gonna get fucked up, you're gonna have a fucking gnarly trip eventually, at least. And I mean, or you'll just get put on the right path. The thing is, psychedelics had gotten me off hard drugs at one point in my life. I mean, I got severely addicted to blow and Xanax for a while, fucking taking benzos to end my trip. I'm fucking intelligent, that's a fucking great idea. That was fucking stupid. But in this whole scheme of things, everything blended together, and I realized I'm okay being independent. I don't have to lean on my dad to get me a job. I don't have to lean on my mom to give me love. I don't need to have these insecurities because my mom didn't know how to show affection in appropriate ways because her mom was screwed up, and doing drugs. So, I mean, it came to a point of my own realization that I'm going to be my own person and I got my own soul in this whole trip experience. As a human being, I am I am something that can infinitely grow, which is beautiful. Um, so it comes to a point in life where this you seeing a thing of mushrooms and you feeling the pull to it is different than you going and going, oh, I'm gonna get fucked up off these gooms, bro. Yeah, that that's what's gonna fuck you up. I know a lot of people who've gone crazy thinking they were gonna go get fucked up on ayahuasca, doing it alone, ordering the shit online. No, they fucking fried themselves because they didn't go through the right channels and they didn't go to a place with a shaman. You don't even have to go out of state, out of country, out of anywhere. I'm in America, and I mean, we don't really have to fucking go out of America to have a trip with a shaman. Me personally, I'm trying to expand so I can guide people through ayahuasca trips eventually. I haven't even had my own ayahuasca trip yet, but psychedelics have been something that have saved my life. So in all of this, it comes to this mushroom trip where I realized that I have a purpose and that I have a meaning, and that I'm getting angry at little shit. And I mean, that's not spiritual. I'm feeding off this negative energy. I need to cast this negative energy aside and be like, fuck you, negative vibes, get the fuck out of here. And I started doing that, and my life drastically improved. In 2 weeks, I managed to accomplish a lot. And that is something truly mesmerizing to me, that two consecutive mushroom trips changed my whole outlook on life. I think that it's not a good idea to trip 2 times in a row, and I'm not saying, hey, go and trip on mushrooms. I'm not saying, hey, let's go fucking do ayahuasca, let's smoke some weed, you guys, this is fun. I'm saying, don't look at psychedelics like they're something to get fucked up on. Look at psychedelics like, hey, this is a tool that the universe has given me to improve myself. I shouldn't abuse it. Nobody can be the universe, You start taking psychedelics all the time. I personally and spiritually believe that is a fuck you to the universe. It's going, hey, I'm smarter than you, universe. I'm gonna learn everything. I'm gonna learn everything from something you created, which I think essentially makes people go crazy. Also thinking, hey, I'm gonna get fucked up off this beautiful thing that the universe created. That's not what the universe wants for anybody. That's the same thing with, like, in my opinion, people who abuse opiate medication. Yeah, it's very addictive, but I feel like it's essentially there for people who are in a lot of pain and who are already gonna go. I mean, that's why I think that's there. I think pharmaceuticals were created to hold us back, and I think psychedelic medicine is the move, and I think that people are starting to realize that, especially in California. They're talking about legalization of all psychedelics, or decriminalization. They already have done it, I believe, in Humboldt County, where they have legalized the sharing of, I believe, DMT, mushrooms, and LSD. And that is something that shows true progress. Me personally, I think that having, I know I'm going on kind of in a circle, but this trip has shown me everything I'm telling you right now. I mean, I could even tell you, like, I've been very irresponsible with psychedelics in the past. Right before that, like, I was like, this is gonna be a great idea. So I would sleep in the warehouse at work so I could work some more. Yeah, pushing myself way too fucking hard, burnt myself out, and then was like, fuck this after my trip on the mushrooms. But I decided one night it'd be a great idea to load up a fucking bowl of weed and some salvia. This was like the one back room nobody really goes in, you know, fucking set up some boxes, throw a blanket over it, sleep there, right, when I work. Pull like 24-hour shifts, sleep a few hours, and work another 8-hour. So, with all that, I had ended up smoking a marijuana and Salvia bowl, and that I ended up having a spiritual experience with that, but it showed me what is it you're necessarily looking for. You're tripping on this organic salvia extract you bought online at work. Yeah, you're not working right now, but what the fuck are you doing? Like, what if someone just walked in that back room and saw you trip the fuck out on salvia, you know? And the thing is, in that whole experience with the salvia, it was a lower dose, but I was making a spiral in the air. I was in a fetal position, spinning and having realizations. I think that is also a really, really cool thing, you know, to be able to realize stuff like that, but learn from my mistakes and never trip at work. Even if you're off and just crashing out for a few hours, that's a ridiculous idea. I mean, I've had another experience that kind of led up to this mushroom trip where I had just gotten the salvia in the mail, and I decided, you know what, I'm walking to my parents' house. There's a park right here. I'm just gonna smoke a bowl of salvia. So I didn't hold it in long enough, but I held it in long enough to legitimately feel like the world was shifting and tilting to the side, then breaking out into tears and talking to my dead grandmother, and me realizing, hey, this is why I'm not hooked on the substances I used to abuse, because she's with me and she made sure that I wasn't there in that mind state that she was, where she got addicted to those substances to a different level. Yes, I've come to a point in my life where I'm realizing this is all that came to me. Then I had that second trip at work leading up to the mushroom trip. A very crazy month, actually. And this feeling I got was, I have a purpose out of all of that. I have a purpose, and my purpose is to help other people. So any questions anybody has on any of this stuff, you can leave it in the comments. I will answer any questions anybody has. You know, I'm fairly new to psychedelics in the way that I'm speaking of spiritual experiences. I've done many psychedelics, but I can't tell you that I would delve within my mind until recently. And it changed my life with that different outlook and the different mindset. So practice safety, and, you know, hopefully if you're doing this, you will have a beautiful experience as well, where you learn. But again, I'm not recommending anybody to do this. I'm going to just let you guys know psychedelics are not for everybody. If you have any mental illness, psychedelics can cause severe mania for people with bipolar. It can put people into episodes. It's something that should be practiced with safety. It's a highly safe substance if used in a regulated environment. So again, this is probably where I'm gonna end this, and I just want you guys to know love and light. Keep everything positive, good vibes your way, you know, and subscribe and send send some comments, send some video suggestions, and I'll keep posting.